Bill Paxton, Mayor of the City of Paducah, and I host Quality of Life Matters in Paducah, Kentucky. As you have heard over the past years and months, quality of life is many different things to a community. It is a safe city with a good police department, having a good fire department, and it's having things to do like the Greenway Trail, like the ice skating rink, like the Four River Center, and wonderful performances come into Paducah on a regular basis. And so under my administration, the two most important things are creating jobs and then giving a good quality of life to the people who, when they move here, have something to do. So today it is my pleasure to have Chad Chancell with us. He is the new Director of Greater Paducah Economic Development and has been on the job for a couple months and replaced Wayne Sterling, who was here for about 5 years. So Chad, it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Mayor.
Chad came from directly from Tennessee, spent some time in Mobile, Alabama, and also in Mississippi. Tell the audience a little bit about those areas and then what brought you to Paducah.
Well, I'm originally from South Mississippi, and I really learned economic development working for the Mobile, Alabama Chamber of Commerce. It's been about 2.5 years in Mobile during a period really of transformation and great success. We won 2 mega projects during my time there as a member of the team, and one of which we competed against Paducah, ThyssenKrupp Steel project. Paducah finished 7th in the project, Mobile won. It was about 2,700 jobs. I started in Mobile literally knowing nothing about economic development, was very fortunate to know the right people and got the job and feel like I got a PhD degree there because of all the success that we had, and really learned from a master as far as I'm concerned. Bill Sisson was my boss, and I attribute everything I know back to him. But I'm really surprised at how similar Paducah is to Mobile. I think Paducah is where Mobile was 10 or 15 years ago, except a little more advanced, particularly in the downtown area. 10 or 15 years ago, Mobile didn't quite know what to do with all the infrastructure it had. It has 2 interstates coming through there, 5 railroads, and also the Alabama State docks. Yet there wasn't a whole lot in terms of economic development being done. And what happened, a mayor was elected who made it his business for everybody to get along. I mean, that was his business, is we're going to get along with the county, we're going to get along with the chamber who does economic development and so forth. And that really laid the groundwork for a period of great success. But just 10 years ago, you wouldn't be caught dead on the downtown streets of Mobile at night. You would have feared for your life. Now it's a wonderful area. You'd love to go there, and all that's happened over such a short period of time. And I certainly hope we can have similar success to that here. But as a project manager in Mobile, I really learned economic development, doing the grunt work, all the tough stuff. And from there, I went to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, and ran the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber and economic development were combined there. So while I ran the Chamber, probably 90% of my time was spent on traditional economic development activities and 10% on Chamber of Commerce activities. So I was there for a couple of years. If you would have told me the nationwide recession was going to hit right when I got there, I would have thought we'd have had really no success. But we were able to bring 3 new companies in and also have the largest expansion in Lawrence County history in about 20 years. Modine, which used to be here. It's funny, I'm sort of connected to Paducah in several ways, even though I had never visited here before I interviewed. Modine expanded in Lawrenceburg, and they're closing 3 plants and moving all those to Lawrenceburg, more than tripling their facility. So we had good success there, particularly given the overall economy. But I was looking for a move up, a move to a similar town with the advantages that Mobile had. In terms of river, rail, interstate. I think those are 3 critical parts, as well as air service, which we have here with the direct flight to Chicago. So I was looking to move up. Lawrenceburg was a small town. It had been great for me, great for my career. I learned a tremendous amount there. But I think Paducah has the opportunity to compete on an economic development scale in a different league. from a town such as Lawrenceburg.
Well, you mentioned we finished seventh with the big steel plant, and economic development is the only game where you can finish second or you can finish third, and you don't get a darn thing. You don't get a blue ribbon. You don't get anything.
It actually costs money at you. Second
Yeah.
is not where you want to be. I can remember we were finalists for the ThyssenKrupp project in Mobile with Arkansas and Louisiana. And we thought Arkansas was going to win, quite frankly. We thought they had the best piece of real estate, but they got cut basically because of the New Madrid fault. Wound up getting cut. So it came down to us in Louisiana, a site south of Baton Rouge on the Mississippi River. And I remember the day before the decision, spending some time with my boss, and he went through and tallied up. We had spent over $100,000 of the chamber's money. Now, I'm not talking the city and county money, strictly the Chamber of Commerce, which is a not-for-profit. We didn't have $100,000 laying around to spend. We had spent $100,000 recruiting the project just of Chamber of Commerce money, and we could have lost. I mean, that was before the decision. You know, so it's certainly, it's expensive to finish second. You don't get any ribbons for it. The public a lot of times doesn't know that you finished second, but it's still a process you have to go through. I mean, you'd rather be in the running and take that chance on winning.
You're exactly right. Now, Chad, you're a young man, and you've got lots of enthusiasm. You were the unanimous choice by the committee to hire a new director, and everybody's excited about the future. You've staffed the office a little bit different from what Wayne Sterling did. Why don't you tell us about that a little bit?
We have. I've hired Alex Metzger and Chuck Sexton as two project managers. Each of them are going to be assigned certain target markets that we feel we have advantages in. Right now, we're having a strategic plan done, which is going to give us 4 or 5 targeted sectors that we should have advantages in from a labor force standpoint, from a real estate standpoint, from a logistical standpoint. So let's assume one of those is steel, since we've been talking about the steel plant. I will assign one of them the steel sector. It'll be their business to know everything that's going on in the steel sector. It'll be their business to know what companies are expanding, you know, who's looking around the area. I'll expect them to go to certain steel conferences so they can rub elbows with the people who are in that industry. And then if they get someone who takes the bite and comes and visits us and actually selects the Paducah area, they will get paid a commission on it. So we're different in the fact that we're paying, I guess, a smaller salary to our project managers, yet they have an opportunity to earn commission. I'm a big believer that we need salespeople. And listen, when I interviewed and hired them, they ate that up. You know, they never once backed down from the idea of making a portion of their salary commission-based, which I'm excited about. So what we'll do is assign the targeted sectors based on which one has a certain interest in those areas, who already has connections. I'll probably take 1 or 2. We could have the budget to next year, hire someone if we have a gap. You know, if green energy, for instance, is mentioned as a target, and none of us have any expertise or any connections in it, we may then go hire a third person, because I think we'll have the budget next year, not this year, but next year, to do that. But if not, that's fine too. So that's sort of how we're structuring it. We've got to get some prospects out of the internet, and we've got to get some prospects out of the state of Kentucky's Economic Development Council. So each of them are also assigned with figuring out how to get prospects from those 2 entities separately of whatever their targets will be. And they'll get paid commission on that as well if we can win.
Well, their names are?
Alex Metzger and Chuck Sexton.
Yeah, they're really aggressive young men, and they're excited about what they're doing, and I know they're going to do a good job. Now, talk a little bit about our budget. The city gives $300,000 a year, and the county gives $300,000 a year, and then the private sector matches that pretty much.
Right.
Your budget is right at $1.1 million, $1.2 million a year, and we raise these funds over a 4-year period of time. So we're guaranteed for the next 4 years to have strong budget, So we got good people, and we've got the money. And so, as you said in your comments, we've got a community that Mobile, Alabama. It's a supreme compliment that you compare us to Mobile, because Mobile, for our TV audience, is the fastest growing community in the country right now, and they've got a lot going for it. And so to be just mentioned in the same breath with Mobile is quite a compliment. So really, I think, and I know you and I've had this conversation, that we got everything going for us. We got the money, we got the people, and
Right. Yeah. I sort of think we can be the inland Mobile. You know, I don't know that we could be quite what Mobile is, but I don't know why we can't be the inland. When you think about the rivers that come through here, you think about the rail, you think about the interstate, the air service to Chicago is a big deal. We probably have as good of air service as Mobile does, and from a distribution standpoint, we're better because we're right in the middle of the country. From Mobile, you can't go south and distribute anything to the population. So I certainly think that they're a good model for us to sort of model ourselves after. You know, but I am excited. It's a very healthy budget. It comes to about $1 million because we do have some debt service in there. But I think the community deserves a winner, and that's my plea as I'm out there talking to prospects, talking to people who can bring us leads, talking with the State of Kentucky Economic Development Council. I've now been in 4 states, even though I'm young. I've done this in Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and now here. And everywhere I've ever been, the state in particular wants communities who help themselves. I've heard it when I didn't have any money. I ran a chamber in Mississippi where my budget was $180,000 a year. And so they always told us, you need to raise more money. You need to raise more money. Here we've done that. This community deserves a winner because you're putting your money where your mouth is. And so I think it should be easy for me to sell as we're out there to folks that we mean what we say about economic development. We're serious about it. I don't know of another community this size with a budget quite our size. I know of some that are pretty close. So I'm excited about it, and certainly I'm looking forward to. I had to budget my first week on the job, so I'm looking forward to getting a year under my belt and figuring out how to allocate those resources. Because when you have that many resources, you can do some very aggressive things, but you have to be smart about it. And somebody once told me, you show me a man's checkbook and I can figure out pretty quick where his heart is and what's important to him. And so I'm looking forward to next year having the opportunity to allocate those resources in ways that make a lot of sense so we can aggressively promote the area.
Well, Chad, over the last year or so, 18 months, some you were here for and some you haven't been here for. Paducah, McCracken County and the region has not hit a home run or a triple, but we have had some decent prospects expanding. And so why don't you kind of talk to the audience and tell them what has happened over the last year to 18 months?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. My entire philosophy is really built around existing industry. First of all, they can bring us more leads than any people that I hire, anything the state can do for us, because if you think about the business people in this community who are quoting business every day across the world, who are at different trade shows, I'd be willing to bet today we have a handful of folks from Paducah who are somewhere trying to drum up business, who are dealing with companies that may have a need to be in this area. I mean, every day they're out there dealing with potential business for us. So one, we have to figure out a way to help them so they can say good things about us. And as we recruit, CEOs are going to call existing businesses whether we like it or not. And it's my hope that our existing businesses can tell them Paducah's the place to do business and that we support them. So it's very important to me. If you think recently H.T. Hackney's just had about a $14 million expansion that's going to need 40 new jobs out Industrial Park West. Great to see new construction out there. Understand, I guess the spec build, well, I guess Infinity Media is the last construction that's been out there. So certainly a lot to that park. H.B. Fuller just took advantage of some state incentives to hire 10 new employees. P&L Railroads, building a new headquarters down along the river. So really, my philosophy is to use those three announcements to build a little bit of momentum, to go out and tell new businesses, look, you should consider investing in Paducah, because these companies have. They had choices, yet they still chose to do that here. So I'm certainly excited about all of those. You think about some of the construction jobs with the schools being built in the area. I think much of that attributes probably to our unemployment rate being lower than the national average right now. So while things are not by any means rosy economically speaking in the nation and even here, I don't want to paint a picture that things are wonderful. They certainly could be worse. And so we're in a position we need to take advantage of the fact that some things are happening. Use that to build a business case to go out and attract new industry, to say, look, you should do business here, because these companies all have choices, and they chose to do business here. And they know us better than we do, and they're still choosing to invest here.
Very good point. As I talk about a lot, and as the public knows, we are the hub of the inland waterways. We have 20, 21, 22 either corporate headquarters or some headquarters there connected to the river industry, which then brings in the machine shops and brings in the lawyers, and it brings in lots of people. We are very fortunate that is our strength. To just name a few, you got James Marine and Crounce and Marquette and Ingram and Hunter Marine, and one that we just brought in, and I think you can probably throw that in with H.D. Hackney and Fuller and P&L, and that's AEP. I mean, AEP, American Electric and Power, barge company, chose to consolidate jobs in St. Louis, jobs in Cape Girardeau, and have operated or operating now in the Resource Center at the Information Age Park. And these are a lot of jobs that we didn't have. And so I think that's a definite anchor for
sure,
us.
And again, they're good paying jobs, and AEP is one of the stalwarts really of the river industry, and so I think having their presence here just solidifies us more as that inland hub. So I know I'm tickled to have them, and I'm looking forward hopefully to their existence here growing over time.
We were both at Tennessee Tom Bigby, and we heard from the Chief Executive Officer of the Panama Canal, talking about what that expansion is going to do as far as increasing traffic, which will increase cargo coming into Mobile and to New Orleans and then up the river system. And we're talking about a container-on-barge facility, and so our future, Chad, I think, when it comes to the river, is extremely bright.
I agree. I think we need to identify some areas to develop land-wise in terms of river facilities, because as that happens, some of these distribution centers and container-type terminals take a lot of land. So I think we've got to do our homework on the front end, but it's a huge opportunity. What's happening, I guess, in 2013, 2014, somewhere around there, a ship that currently comes through the Panama Canal, and I'm going to make numbers up just so the public, because I don't have it in my head what the actual numbers are. Let's say it can hold 100 containers, 20-foot long containers, which you may see on a truck or on a barge. Because a ship that's any bigger than that can't get through the canal. Once the construction's finished, a ship may be able to come through that can hold 5 times that amount. So what's going to happen, the West Coast is so congested in terms of Long Beach, as far as containers coming from China and Asia to get goods that many of us buy at Walmart, so much stuff that comes from Asia into the country. Right now, a container may sit on a ship in the West Coast for a week before it's offloaded onto rail. Then it may sit in the yard for a week before it gets on rail and gets over here to us. When the canal is expanded, those ships are going to be able to come right through there and come either into New Orleans, Mobile, Houston, some of those Gulf ports, where now they're just not doing it because they can't fit enough containers on a ship. So I think once that happens, certainly Paducah as well as some other inland waterway cities are going to be in a good position to take advantage of it. I can't imagine why we won't be in the best when you consider that the four rivers all come together here, and we're the northernmost ice-free water port in the country. So I certainly think that's going to be a good advantage for us. It's 3 to 4 years out, but certainly we need to go ahead right now and get prepared for it, create the infrastructure that when that happens, we have opportunities.
Sure, I agree. Speak to the audience, talk to the audience a little bit about Riverport West and what a tremendous facility that is, Chad.
I guess we own or control through certain partners and options 1,500 to 2,000 acres out. You may have to tell them how to get there better than I can. The best way I can say is directly across from Harrah's Casino in Metropolis. If you're at Harrah's looking across the river with that rail bridge, you're looking at the piece of property. That I think we have about 2,500 feet along the river there that we also control as far as a possible dock facility. That's the site that I mentioned finished 7th in the ThyssenKrupp deal that went to Mobile. You have dual rail access. You have the river. Transportation is an issue now. We've got to get our arms around that, and we've been meeting on that. So I think once we can provide transportation service to it, or not even have a road there, but show the engineer, and this is where transportation would be. That is the only thing that I can see that's really holding the site back. It's a tremendous piece of property. I'm not aware of any really in the country that has dual rail, a river with frontage of that magnitude that near the interstate. So I think we're going to have tremendous potential. You mentioned hitting a home run. I think the key to economic development is really supporting existing business, like I said, and hitting those singles and doubles and triples. But every now and then you do need to hit a home run, and that is our home run site. There's just no question about it. It's begging for something there that employs a lot of jobs, that invests a lot of money. And so we've got to go out and actively market the piece of property, figure out what targets go there, which is what this study is doing, and go out and find the investment for it.
Well, the public heard a lot about this coal to liquid. When you work on an economic development prospect, you try to keep it as confidential as long as possible. Unfortunately, that was released by the news media, and so it started a little bit of excitement among the public, which was premature. And what I think you and I want to make sure the public knows, Chad, is that we will continue to look at any company that is interested in coming in here and creating a lot of jobs, or a lot of companies that are creating smaller amounts of jobs,
Sure.
whatever works. And that if the coal to liquid with that company or with another company seems to work, we'll work hard at bringing that in. But do you have anything to comment on that, Chad?
Well, you know, we're going on a trade mission, myself and a few other folks from the area and from Kentucky to Europe next month, and we're meeting with some coal to liquid companies. I think coal to liquid makes sense for that site. I think other things make sense for the site. But we cannot hold the site back for just one deal. Right. We need jobs too badly to just take the site off the market and say to any group, we're going to sit around and wait for you for 5 or 10 years, however long it takes to get your financing put together or to choose this site to create jobs for our community. Number one, we've invested money in it. My organization has, right, that we owe debt on, that I was mentioning earlier, so we can't just sit around forever. And number two, the community deserves jobs there if that's what we want, if that's how we want to develop that piece of the riverfront. So we're going to aggressively go after companies. Right now, financing is harder to receive than ever, as you well know. Turn the news on and you can see that. So it's really important to me that we find a deal that has financing in place, or certainly has the capability to finance something quickly, so that we don't get into a situation where we move the land and we get something built out there. And listen, Toyota just recently in Tupelo. Toyota now, one of the world's leading companies, built the plant and let it sit there for 2 years because of some problems they had in the automotive market. So I'm not saying that whatever company we find is going to be able to do, get the thing started the first day that they said they would, because markets change things. But we certainly need a company that has the ability and the capital to put investment out there so that jobs can eventually be created. Because at the end of the day, I don't think you do, and I really don't care if somebody goes out there and invests $3 billion. I'd like for them to. It's going to create a lot of construction jobs, but what we want are sustainable, good paying jobs for our citizens that are going to be here 20, 30 years. Right. And so we have got to go out and aggressively find a company to go there. It's going to take time. The ThyssenKrupp project I mentioned, we worked 2.5 years before that thing announced. And they started with 60 different sites. So the idea that we can suddenly promote it today and it be going tomorrow, it won't work that way. But we need to get it in the running for some good projects in the next year or so and see what happens 2 or 3 years down the road as they make their decisions. But we're not just going to submit it for one project here or there. We're going to submit it for everything that we think makes sense, and hopefully something will land.
Exactly. Well, I wanted you all to meet Chad Chancellor and show you all what an enthusiastic, energetic young man he is. Wanted the public to know that the city and the county and GPDC and the chamber and an awful lot of people are working extremely hard to bring good paying jobs into this community. We're collecting money, we're raising money to have a solid budget, and we're going out and hiring competent people like Chad, and we will be successful. This community will be successful, and I know it in my heart, and so this was our way of letting the public know what is going on. So Chad, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And good luck on your job going forward. And thank the audience for joining us. And please stay tuned for our next Quality of Life Matters in Paducah. Thank you.